Mr. McKee, I'd like to start out with Scotland's economy, which has been impacted obviously by coronavirus, by the pandemic with the rest of Europe. So, what has that meant so far for trade in Scotland?
Well, of course, it's very challenging times for us in Scotland and Germany, across Europe and across the world. And the Scottish Government has been focused on making sure that we come through the crisis, taking care of the health of our population as best we can, and also focused on making sure our economy recovers. And we see those two as inextricably linked. It plays very much into our concept, as you will be aware, that Scotland is very focused on the well-being economy. Our economy is much more than GDP, and the well-being and health of our population really are at the centre of it. So this has really highlighted that situation. It's brought to the fore, frankly, many of the sectors that Scotland already has significant strength in, be that round about life science, be it in the digital space and the widespread adoption of IT, the remote working tools that we're now using, and across many other sectors where Scotland has strengths. So we see obviously significant impact in the short term. We believe in the long term, an innovative, outward-looking trading economy like Scotland, we can learn to live with COVID, and beyond COVID, we believe Scotland's economy can be in an even stronger position.
One of these areas of innovation, both in Scotland and in continental Europe at the moment, is sustainability. You are going to be hosting in Glasgow soon the COP26 climate change conference at the beginning of November. In fact, what role do you think sustainability in particular can play in Scotland's recovery?
Well, sustainability is absolutely central to our economic ambitions and how we see Scotland's economy moving forward. And that works at all levels. At the political level, we have been very clear. We were one of the first countries to declare a climate emergency when our First Minister made that statement. We have delivered significantly on our ambitions to achieve net zero by 2045, 5 years earlier than the rest of the UK. Already more than 90% of Scotland's electricity is generated from renewable sources, and we can see our advance in those technologies and delivery of those technologies being significant year upon year. And COP26 really gives us the opportunity to showcase those technologies to the rest of the world. The city of Glasgow, where I am just now, is preparing itself for that conference, clearly delayed from this year until next as a consequence of COVID. But as I say, it's an opportunity not just to have the policy-making discussions here in Glasgow, but very much for Scotland to showcase our renewable energy technology, where we are world leading in that technology, and the significant progress we've made in the adoption of renewable energy and our path towards sustainability.
There's been a lot of focus recently in Germany on the potential that hydrogen-based technologies could have for mobility in the years and decades to come. What role is hydrogen playing in Scotland's economy at the moment, and in terms of future potential?
Hydrogen is an area that we've identified as somewhere where Scotland has significant potential. If you've been to Scotland, you'll know that the wind rarely stops blowing. We already generate significant amounts of energy from onshore and increasingly offshore wind, and the capability to use that to generate green hydrogen is a project that we've been moving forward with. The Scottish Government is developing hydrogen action plans to enable us to articulate and more clearly where we want to go with this technology. We have, for example, in Aberdeen, a whole fleet of hydrogen buses that have clocked up more than 1 million miles, 1.6 million kilometres over the last few years, and carried more than 1 million passenger journeys. We see investment in Orkney, for example, where we have the capability to generate hydrogen, not just from wind, but from innovative marine technologies such as tidal and wave. It's an area that we see very much as being central to Scotland's energy ambitions as we transition from oil and gas to renewable energy. And it's an opportunity for Scotland to put our renewable capabilities together with our real aspirations in terms of decarbonisation of transport and heat and the utilisation of hydrogen. And we're very keen to work with partners in Germany, across Europe and globally to further develop that technology.
So space exploration might not be the first thing that most people associate with Scotland outside of Star Trek, but you're building a spaceport in Sutherland that is due to open in 2022. What are your hopes for this project in the long term?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And one of my missions as one of my portfolio responsibilities is for the space sector. And one of my missions is to make Scotland's capabilities and ambitions in the space sector more widely known globally. It might be interesting for you to learn that Scotland manufactures more satellites than anywhere outside of California in the city of Glasgow. And we are very proud of that, and we continue to develop that sector. As you say, we are working towards what we believe could be Europe's first spaceport in Sutherland in the north of Scotland, and a number of other sites within Scotland are also looking at complementary offerings in the spaceport sector. We have now 2 rocket manufacturers building launch vehicles in Scotland. And I think really the most important part of the space sector, of course, is downstream in what you do with that data. And Edinburgh, positioning itself as the data capital of Europe, is in a fabulous place and already has a very thriving space data sector, making use of that data primarily, in many cases, for environmental and climate change challenges, helping us monitor, understand what the climate change impacts on planet Earth are and how we can tackle those. So we are hugely ambitious for our space sector. We see it as being a joined up end-to-end space sector, from satellite manufacture, launch vehicle manufacture, spaceport launch of those satellites, and then the downstream data sector, all working coherently within Scotland to support our ambitions to build a very thriving and successful sector for space within Scotland.
Another major issue at the moment and challenge facing Scotland and the rest of Europe, in addition to the pandemic, is Brexit. Now, Scotland has been very successful in recent years in drawing in foreign direct investment. I think it's second only to London in the UK in that regard. What impact are you seeing now, and do you expect in the coming months from Brexit, especially if we see, as many people are anticipating now, a hard Brexit if there is no free trade agreement?
Brexit is obviously very concerning for Scotland. You'll be very well aware that the vast majority of people in Scotland voted to stay within the European Union, and the Scottish Government is very clear in all our discussions with the UK Government and with our many European friends and neighbours that Scotland sees its ambition, its place as an independent member state within the European Union. We make no secret of that, and that is what we are working towards. So on many, many levels, we find Brexit very difficult. We find it difficult socially, culturally, and we find it difficult economically. And as you say, the UK government is very unclear at the moment where this deal will end up in their recent behaviour over the internal market bill, where it appears that they may even be willing to break international agreements they recently entered into, is something that we find very difficult. So the message from Scotland is we are very keen to stay as close as possible to our European friends and neighbours, to continue to trade and do business with a view to becoming a full member of the European Union in due course. In the meantime, we have to work with what we have. And as you said, Europe is hugely significant from a Scottish trade point of view. 12 of our top 15 markets are in Europe. It is where we see our future, and it's where we want to continue to build and grow our international trade links. So we continue to work through what we have. We expect it will be difficult, but we hope to continue to develop our trade links using the team that we have already in Germany, with our offices in Dusseldorf for Scottish Development International, and our office, our Scottish Government hub in Berlin. Those working together with the rest of Team Scotland, our Global Scot network, and many others within Germany, to continue to develop our trade links between Scotland, Germany, and the rest of Europe.
If there is a hard Brexit, do you think that that might actually make it easier to achieve Scottish independence in the short to medium term?
I think a hard Brexit would be very difficult because it will make things difficult for our economy, for our businesses, and for the people of Scotland. So it's not something we wish to see. We believe that the people of Scotland will vote when the time comes, which we think will be in the not too distant future, for independence, regardless of the type of Brexit deal that we end up with. And as I say, a hard Brexit is a difficult situation for everybody. So it's not something we wish to see. We wish to maintain as close trading links as possible now and in the future with our European neighbours.
But how realistic do you think it is at this stage that Europe and the UK can avoid a hard Brexit, given where the negotiations are at the moment?
Well, it's very difficult to read Boris Johnson's mind. If I could do that, then I would be in a much better place. But we watch with some significant concern, clearly, as that process moves forward. We push, as I said, and encourage the UK government to see sense and to reach a deal that works for everybody. If we're going to have Brexit, we should make it as friendly for trade and for our economies as possible. And I wouldn't like to call the future. I think we've seen so many twists and turns in this Brexit story over the past few years. It's difficult to predict exactly what's going to happen next. But we continue to push and encourage for as soft a Brexit as possible.
Minister McKee, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much.